assistance, billing inquiries, or to block future calls, dial 1-877-650-4249. To hear the cost of this call, this call is subject to monitoring and recording. Do not use three-way or call waiting features during this call. Thank you for using Global Tel-Link.
All right, brother, I'm not sure where we got cut off in that last one. Can you play that back and see what got cut off?
Sure, I think you cut off. You were mentioning people on the beach, and if you're not in the market, don't be advertising.
Okay. Yeah, and I don't know if you caught that or not, but I forgot to check the timer. It's interesting. God, Adam and Eve, when they realized they were naked, they made themselves aprons, and God made them coats, which of course is very different. Man's idea of modesty is not the same as God's idea of modesty. And oftentimes humans can convince themselves, well, hey, I have a bikini on, I'm covered. Well, ask the average man who will be honest with you, are you really modest? And they will say, no, this is not modest unless they have an ulterior motive. So I just simply avoid the beach, period. This may sound really strange to some people, but I had my great parents growing up. I never saw my dad without his shirt on. My kids, I don't think, maybe once if it was an accident, have ever seen me without a shirt on. When I go swimming, and I love to swim, I was lifeguard and can swim and do a 1.5 off the board today at 62 years of age. But I just simply wear a shirt. That's my idea is I don't want my wife running around without a shirt on, so I don't want to run around without a shirt on. There's some people may think that's crazy, and you can believe what you want, but that's what I chose as my level of standard of modesty. And so you do what you want and reap the results accordingly. So the idea of modesty and the idea of naked, how could this shame for nakedness evolve, I think was the question. And that's a very interesting, legitimate question, because if we are indeed just an animal and we're nothing but animated meat, there certainly should be no shame at being naked. I think you could probably train yourself to not be ashamed, and there certainly are people in nudist colonies, etc., and some cultures around the world that have conditioned themselves psychologically to not be ashamed, I guess. I don't know what they think, but I think you'd have to, maybe it'd be a Romans chapter 1 thing, God would give them up and say, okay, well, I'm done with you, I'm done working with you. So maybe that's it. Anyway, interesting. Thank you for the question.
All right, very, very good. Hopefully my sound is a little bit better. And also I did have a quick question for you, Pastor Hovind. The sermon that you gave this morning, did you have a title for that I should use, or I just put continued to preach from, or continue to teach from the book of Matthew?
I guess Matthew Bible study. We'll just do lesson 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it was.
Okay. No.
And whatever you think, it doesn't matter to me.
Okay, very, very good. Okay, the next question, let's see. It comes in from Alan, and Alan writes, Dr. Hovind, should Christians consider the idea of luck just to be a delusion?
Is luck a delusion? I don't know. That certainly seems to be, simple statistics. If you roll 2 dice 1,000 times, the odds are you're going to get snake eyes a certain number of times, and 7s. I mean, you can plot it out. It's pretty simple to see what the odds are of it happening. And I think if you do it 1,000 times, or 10,000, or 10 million, it's going to follow a definite pattern.
This call is from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
I don't know. I've never gotten into much of that. I certainly don't gamble, and luck. I guess I don't have a quick answer. Good question, Ellen. Don't know. Is it a delusion? Some people seem to do better, but if somebody is playing cards and they consistently draw 4 aces in poker and win, I would not look to luck. I would look up their sleeve and see what they got, or see who's shuffling these cards. You might want to look to something other than just luck. Okay?
No, very good. All right, Pastor Hovind, the next question comes in from Rick, and Rick writes, Dear Pastor Hovind, as Christians, how can we identify false teachers?
I think probably just simply a good knowledge of the truth and the Word. The more you study the Word, the more you begin to spot errors. I've been told that when they train FBI agents to spot counterfeits, they don't show them a counterfeit, at least certainly not at first. They show them the real thing. You study all the details of the real thing, Of course, technically, all Federal Reserve notes are counterfeit. I understand, but forget that part of it. You study the real thing, and then the counterfeit quickly shows up. I mean, it becomes obvious. Hey, this isn't right. So, I think the more, just read the Word. Just read it and read it and read it. If you have questions, a multitude of counselors are safety. There are various doctrines or teachings of the Bible that I still, after 46 years, don't have settled in my mind. What the truth is, I don't know. I listen to people's opinions, and I say, well, God, I'd like to know someday about that, and I still don't know. And always be willing to change, but only in response to God's Word would be my take on that. Somebody would have to show me something real clear. If the Bible isn't clear, but some preacher seems to be very dogmatic about something, I'm willing to listen. What's he say and why? And let him convince me. So yeah, that's perfectly fine. But to me, just the simple answer to the question is that the more you know the Bible, the less problems you'll have with false teachers. You'll be able to spot them and say, wow, that ain't right. Okay.
No, very good. All right, Pastor Hovind, the next question comes in from Cute Pancake. And Cute Pancake writes, what was the weirdest debate you ever had? I saw a debate where they even accused you of not flushing the toilet. Did you know they were going to make fun of their guest?
That was the Ali G show. I had never heard of Ali G. He's a comedian from, I guess, England. I don't know. But they called me and said, would you come debate against 5 atheists at once on TV? I said, I'd be honored. I'd be thrilled to, sure. So they flew me up and put me in a really nice motel, and I show up at the really fancy studio. And here's this guy comes in. He's like 6'6", and he's all dressed up like a gangster is not the word, rock star, you know. He's got 10 necklaces on and a ring on every finger and thumb, and I thought, what on earth is this? Turns out he's the host of the show. This is Ali G, so I met him. And why he came up with this thing about not flushing the toilet, I don't know. He talked about technology, and even for months after I'd been on the program, I told my family when I got home, I said, I think I just met the dumbest man on planet Earth. He had me completely fooled, and everybody else too, which is how he makes a living. He's a comedian. Turns out he's actually a pretty intelligent fella. I think maybe a little vulgar. I would doubt his Christianity. I don't know if somebody told me he's Jewish, but I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, he does that to everybody. Tries to catch him on something. You know, he was given a tour of the United Nations one time, and he saw the little sign on the desk for the country of Jordan. And he's telling the guy giving him the tour, he said, I don't think it's right that one man gets his own country. Well, just because he can play basketball, why would he get his own country? That ain't fair. Michael Jordan. And it just took the UN tour guide just totally by surprise, like shock, like what, you know? And so that's how he does it. He says outlandish things to try to look at the expression on people's faces and try to capture it to make fun of them. So no, to answer your question, I had no clue that show was going to be like that. He totally caught me off guard in that respect. There was not a debate there was a little mini debate on evolution, but I don't think any of that got broadcast. I mean, there were indeed some atheists there in the crowd. I mean, at the conference table, but we didn't. None of that was broadcast later. All he wanted was to try to catch people in saying something to embarrass them. That seemed to be his way to climb to the top, is to climb over people by pushing them down. To me, that whole concept is counterproductive and foreign. I don't mind exposing evil or exposing lies, but the individual person, you don't want to push them down to advance yourself. Okay?
All right.
Appreciate it. Yeah, as far as the best or worst debate, I don't know. I get calls and letters all the time. Different people like different ones, and I don't know. I like them all. I could do one every day of the year.
I like the one where you debated 3 people at the same time. That was one of my favorites. So
that was a good one. I enjoyed that.
All right. Okay, Pastor Hovind, the next question comes in from Dynamis, and Dynamis writes, good afternoon, guys, and God bless you. I have a question about Hawaii. I have a lot of roots there and grew up there and graduated high school there. I am wondering about how Hawaii formed. If you lowered the water 150 to 350 feet, like you say, Pastor Hovind, all the land masses would be connected. My question is, how would islands like Hawaii form that are in the direct middle of the abyss and supposedly formed through volcanic activity? Could the flood and the cracking of the Earth's crust be the reason why? Or do you think the island in particular was formed before the flood? I mean, they do have stories there about Noah's flood, even though they changed the names around and the stuff. How would they be able to tell how long the island was been there if all the ways they have been dating of the dirt is wrong? Also, just a side note on Hawaii, when I lived there, I went to the royal castle and found that the guards' armor and staff weapons were like 11 feet tall. I remember them saying that the king Kamehameha was 10 foot tall Hawaiian, and that the royal guards were men with dark skin who were also around 10 feet tall or more. Just an interesting fun fact. Always praying for you, brother. Donimus.
Well, thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yes, I've been to Hawaii 3 times and love going to visit. I would not want to live there. Very quickly, you get what they call rock fever, like, okay, I've seen it all. Get me out of here. This place is too small. Okay, it's wonderful to go visit, but I would not want to live there. But I really enjoyed some great churches over there. Preached at, Calvary Chapel, Pearl Harbor. Fabulous church right there in Pearl Harbor. And then coming from Honolulu up over the pass down into Kuniahi. They pronounce every letter in that alphabet. It's a Baptist church. I forget the name now. It's been a long time. Anyway, I think Hawaii was probably formed exactly the way most earth science books teach, that it's a hot spot under the crust of the earth moving, and this hot spot sends up lava plumes that, while they're underwater, they harden very quickly from the cooling of the water, and then they get up and become a volcano. So if you look at like the island of Oahu or Hawaii, that's still active volcano, it's still growing and probably going to gradually move farther southeast, and another island may form out there. So I think it is a chain of islands that probably formed from a moving hot spot under the crust of the earth. And if you look at it, it's really the really tall mountain that only the tip is above the water, so they call that an island. I don't question that. I do question the timing. I think that probably happened maybe even during the last part of the flood. The Bible says the fountains of the deep broke open. I think the earth cracked up like an eggshell, and Hawaii is on one of those cracks, one of those fault lines, and so the lava and the hot stuff is still seeping out from inside the earth. So I don't question how it formed. I would question the when and the where.
This call is from the San Diego County Sheriff's Office.
I would question the when it happened. It didn't happen millions of years ago. As far as the people having these legends and the giant 10-foot people, that's interesting. I didn't know about that. I'd love to see documentation of that. I toured the Queen, whatever her name was, the museum there that she had when she was 1850s or something, when they kind of said, do you want to surrender or do you want to die? And so that was a sad day for Hawaii. But I think it's pretty obvious the people came into those islands from elsewhere, probably New Zealand or Australia or something like that. They came in boats is the standard answer. So probably the islands formed after the flood, and within maybe, who knows, 1,000 years, people had spread out around the world enough from Noah's Ark. So by maybe 1000 BC, or maybe even the time of Christ, people were around the world and still looking for new land. People are always looking for new, free, cheap land to expand. That they moved out, found the Hawaiian Islands, and said, "Oh, let's move here." So, but the formation, I think, is certainly a natural geologic thing that happens as hot spots move under the crust of the earth and send up lava plumes. Okay, thank you for the question.
Very, very good. All right, Pastor Hovind, the next question is there a preferred church I should consider going to? Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, or should I listen to radio broadcasted sermons?
I think it's important to have a physical, actual church. You go attend and sit in fellowship with people. There's gonna come a time, maybe many times in your life, where you need a pastor you can sit across the table from and tell your story to, and he can pray for you and come visit you in the hospital and pray for your kids. And I think God set up the church. It's extremely important. Jesus calls the church.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
If you read 1st and 2nd Timothy and the book of Titus, you talk about the importance of the church. Most of the New Testament is written to particular churches. The disciples spent their time going around establishing churches. Churches are extremely important. I highly recommend you go to one. As far as which type, let me call back and answer that one.
All right, very good. All right, that's Pastor Hovind, and I do need to remind everybody to hit subscribe, like, and comment just to help get the word out about Pastor Hovind's story. We have just a few days, a little over 2 weeks before May the 18th, and we need to make sure everybody's aware of the injustices that are being done to this man. And now is the time to stand up and to say something before his trial, May the 18th.